Good morning, Mr. Ramon. How are you?
Fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing
You're
great.
doing good. You're supposed to say I'm doing good.
I'm doing good, Ramon.
Uh,
Well, we were talking this morning about perfection, right? And we try to get everything perfected, but in reality, what we're here to do is help people in the home buying process, help them determine, when is the right time to buy a home, right? And so last week we went over a little bit about what that roadmap looks like, and we started talking about the loan approval process, what you have to do as a buyer, how you coordinate with the title company, with the seller, with the buyer, with the buyer's agent, with the seller's agent, with the loan officers and the inspectors, and we went through all that, right?
Too much.
So now we're to the point of, we've gone through that process, we've gone through pre-approval, and now there's only two choices, right? We either move on to underwriting or we get rejected, right? We don't want to talk about that because we all know that.
Not today. We're going to talk about underwriting.
We're going to talk
What?
about it. All right. So Ramon, tell us a little bit about underwriting and how that works.
So underwriting, in my opinion, has evolved. Okay, they used to be the taboo people in the loan process, right? Oh my God, the underwriter's going to get my file, and then they're going to destroy my file, right? It's more of an interaction now between loan officer, processor, and underwriter that try and make things work. They're not trying to not do the loan, so it's evolved in that aspect as a relationship goes. But in underwriting, a lot of things, that's where you peel back the onion. Okay. Think of the layers of an onion. Okay, well, you give me a bank statement, right? I look at a bank statement, you've got $20,000 in it. An underwriter looks at the bank statement and says, yeah, you got $20,000, but on the 15th of the month, you're taking out $400 every time. What is that for? Right? And they dive in and they look for everything. So an underwriter's job is to make sure number one, they're following all the rules from Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, USDA. Those are the main loan programs.
There, you know, and I know that we do it in real estate. I know that loan officers do it too. We talked about Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and all of these governmental entities, right? But what are those entities? What do they do for the client?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think we should do a whole topic on that.
Okay. All
So
right.
let's put that on the back burner for another discussion.
Okay.
But yes, great question. But so they set all the rules. Basically, all those companies you just rattled off, they don't do loans.
Right.
They're the insurers of loans. So they write all the rules and then the banks follow them. The banks are the ones with the money. That's what people don't understand. This a VA, a VA doesn't give the borrower 500,000 for a house. The bank does, right? So the underwriters have to make sure that all those rules are applied. And trust me, I think the Fannie Mae book is about 1,100 pages. FHA is about 1,300 pages. Just enormous amount of rules, right? So it's not so when you tell me, hey, I want to buy a house and I don't have a job, but I make a lot of money and you're not reporting anything on your tax returns, it makes it difficult, right? So an underwriter is not going to say, okay, you've got a lot of money, you've got great credit, but where's your income at? How are you going to qualify? How are you going to pay for this? Right? So the underwriter is the final decision maker of the file. They're the representative of the bank giving permission to get that loan to the finish line.
Okay.
So
So
that's the underwriter.
am I understanding right, Ramon, that once you go to the underwriter makes sure that all the rules are being followed, right? Of the entity that's going to insure your loan. In other words, they're the entity, the government entity that says to the banks, if my client, if our client doesn't perform on the loan, we will insure the loan for you,
right?
right? So if
So
the bank doesn't follow the rules, are they in jeopardy of the loan not being insured?
absolutely, because those all the loans at the end, again, another podcast topic, right? What happens to the loan at the end? But yeah, so all these banks are selling those loans on the secondary market, and they have to meet those insurers rules.
Right.
If something happens to the loan, let's say in the first payment, the borrower didn't make the payment. What happens is a red flag goes up the pole and says, okay, what was missed on this loan? And another set of eyes goes through and says, okay, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? Oh, you guys didn't do this. So then the loan gets sent back to the original bank and says, oh, you guys didn't follow this rule. Right? Here's a simple rule. You start missing payments, a bank looks at the chain of title. Oh, you added 3 people to the title after we closed the loan. That's a taboo, so they can call your loan due in 30 days. There's no foreclosure process. You broke the rules, right? So, so yeah, but back to the underwriters, they're the ones at the usually go through 2 rounds in every file. First file, they look at everything and ask for more stuff. The second time, depending on credit and all that stuff, they ask for more stuff, and then you go to the end, which is final approval.
So when we're in underwriting, how long does that process take from one? How long can it take?
Good question, and it varies bank to bank. Right now with the market being slow, usually get 24 to 48 hour service. For initial means the first time you submit a file. For review of conditions, which is the second round, usually those are 24 hours.
So you go through underwriting, and then let's say that the underwriter approves it. Now what's the next step?
So it's called approval with conditions, right? So that's what I mean, second round. So they say, yeah, I like the file, I'm gonna approve the file, but I need a new bank statement, I need a letter from your employer because you were off a day or two, stuff like that. So your tax returns, I need the 5th page of the tax returns, stuff like that. So title stuff might not be ready yet. So all that stuff goes in for final approval.
So how important is it for the client, for the buyer, to be on point about what's being asked of him or her?
Well, again, it's like anything else, right? And it's funny, many people don't find the urgency of what they're doing, if I may. They because they have a lot of money, and they have a really good job, so they're confident in their ability to purchase, but they don't really want to go through the process because they feel so good about themselves. Okay, wink, wink. So, so then it's difficult. The process is still the process. I say today the loans are easy. They're black and white. Everything's in black and white, but you gotta give me black and white. And if you can't provide black and white, again, red flags, right?
And here we're up against time too, because in all contracts there's a timeline, right? And there's a timeline for closing, and we keep thinking my closing date is 30 days out, but the processes of the bank and the process that it takes for you to get the paperwork to the bank, that that could put in jeopardy that closing date. Is that correct?
Well, you don't think about it. You give 30 days in a contract. That's normal in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. 30 days, right? So really the loan officer has 24 days. Take away weekends because underwriters aren't working.
Right.
You got title people that aren't working on the weekends either. I mean, some of them do, but for the normal. So a lot of things have to happen. Then you throw a vacation day in there or a holiday in there. You get people that don't check their email. So if you, the consumer, don't respond to me for 1 or 2 or 3 days, I've lost 1 or 2 or 3 days to help you get your keys.
Right. So once you start the process, a consumer should be very conscious of the fact that those next 24 days, you know, or 30 days, you know, without counting weekends, 24 days are going to be crucial to the success of you getting your home. Is that correct?
This isn't an ego statement. We're really good at loans,
Right.
right? The only time we have problems is when I can't get stuff from the consumer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'll go as fast as you guys go, but it's a two-way street, right? Remember that triangle I talked about? That triangle's broken. It just doesn't work.
Right. And now we're at what? I mean, I look at the roadmap, and we look at this roadmap, and we see that we're just in the middle of the process, right? Once you go through underwriting and that review process, we're just at the middle, right?
Yep. Until the second round is over with underwriting.
Right.
And
So
remember, a lot of things are happening on the background, right? The underwriter's looking at the file, an appraisal's happening, a home inspection's happening, all this stuff's happening, you know, while we're getting that everything together in one little bundle, if you would.
so as a loan officer, what would be your advice to the consumer at this point? What would you need for the consumer to be really conscious of it at this point in the process?
Again, not to oversimplify it, but always reply to your mortgage banker. Always reply to their questions or needs. If, for example, let's say I ask you for a pay stub and you send it to me as a consumer and it's cut off on the right-hand corner a little bit. I can't see all the numbers. So I ask you for that again, and the consumer usually gets mad or upset. I've already given it to you. If I'm asking for it again, something's wrong, right?
Right.
So, and look, people are human. Some things gets lost but again, I still need it at the end of the day, right? The bank still needs it in the file. So that my advice is just be aware of what you're being requested of and stay on top of it.
Awesome. Well, Ramon, thank you for the information. We're interviewing Ramon Espinosa this morning. He's a loan officer. I'm Teresa Anderson. I'm with KWEV, real estate agent. And if you have any questions, there's a link below that you can ask Ramon questions. His number is 602-738-6158. Thank you, Ramon, for your time and effort, and we'll see you next week.
And guess what happens next time?
What happens next
We
week?
get close to getting keys.
That's good. That's good. That's a
All
good.
right. See you soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.